Daniel, who's going to talk to us about how to overcome the lead foot, clearly does not know how to go quickly because he was late today as well. But he's going to lay some wisdom on you so you don't have to do that and get my ire up. Come on up, Daniel. Give it up for Daniel Davis.
All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for giving me approximately 6 minutes to throw some words at you. I'm going to chat with you about lead foot syndrome. I think I realized I had this about 15 and a half when I started taking driving lessons. There's dynamics that probably kicked in earlier with stuff like riding a bike down a hill with no brakes and just seeing where it went, or riding my scooter down a dusty new gravel road and running it into the back of a car. Things like that probably indicated that I maybe had a bit of lead foot syndrome. So how are we going to define it? Well, it's a figurative phrase, right, that basically talks about the symptoms that lead to driving really fast. So something that I think a lot of us maybe have. Some of us are lucky enough to work remote nowadays. You don't have to commute as much, but if you're kind of like me, I spend 10 to 12 hours on the road every week traveling in and out of work. So I spent some time in the traffics. So we're going to briefly cover some symptoms of lead foot syndrome here. So kind of smashing down that gas pedal can be an indicator. Those jump starts off the line if you're at the stoplight, burnouts, donuts, clutch dumps, tailgating, and of course lane weaving can all be indicators of a bit of lead foot syndrome. Some additional kind of advanced case contexts here. Vehicle modding, right? Throwing a turbocharger, a turbo, or a supercharger in your car. Perhaps nitrous usage, things of that nature. Or even addictions to things like drifting or street drag racing, or maybe even motorsports are probably the worst of all, addiction to NASCAR. So we got to, of course, be cautious of that. So what can we maybe do about it, you're asking? Well, there's a few areas we can maybe focus. We can focus on the vehicle, some technology, public perspective, and of course yourself. So we'll kind of jump into each of those real quick. Jump. Okay, so from a vehicle perspective, something that worked really well for me actually was audiobooks. They distracted me. I've established a pattern. I'll listen to work-related books on the way in and sci-fi books on the way home, and it keeps me in that frame of mind that helps me not get caught up in some road rage per se. One that kind of hinted to me yesterday that was pretty neat. A guy was like, well, what if you just push the seat back and you can barely kind of touch the gas pedal? If you can't push it all the way down, maybe that might prevent you from going too fast. Of course, monitoring your miles per gallon. If you're going and trying to regulate that, that could keep you at a consistent pace. Not using the gas helps you control that speed. Cruise control, of course, and then, of course, the autonomous vehicles can certainly assist us here. If the car's driving itself, you set it up correctly. I'm curious to see, at some point I'll probably convert over how fast I can push it to autonomously drive. We'll see. Technology-wise, some things to be considerate too. Of course, there's the good old standard radar, laser detectors, jammers, things of that nature. They're getting a little more out of style now as the community things are playing in. Things like Waze as an app. Note with that, though, if you're using Waze and you're driving and you notice there's a lot of unmarked hazards, like nobody marked that car that's on the side, it's an indicator you're probably not surrounded by a lot of other Wazers or other app users, and then, therefore, things like police aren't getting marked, so you probably want to dial it back a little. Things like monitoring tracking. I rented a Mustang this weekend when I was out of town. I'm really glad they don't have monitors on those as of yet. And then careful becoming dependent on these things. They can get too favored, right? You look to them to control it. So, went a little too far there. There we go. So, of course, using rabbits, decoys, blockers. It's part of what got me thinking about this talk. Is on the way down over here from Detroit on the interstate there. I had, luckily, a blocker. I probably would have got hit with a speeding ticket, except somebody else was right in the way when the cop was witnessed by both of us. Carpooling, of course, is good. Thing to remember, respect gets respect. Of course, my perspective, I generally get this instead, and therefore, I still try to give the thumbs up and the wave and the hello and smiling face, just because I know and understand it's my bad. Of course, police, get a fast car, but that doesn't look fast. I drive a Buick, right? So it's turbocharged, and it's a manual and various other things, but a cop sees a Buick, they're not so worried about it. Spatial awareness, see what's around you. Be courteous and polite, of course, if you do get pulled over. Remember, the police are doing their job. Always contest the tickets. You never know. You might, be able to help get you out of it. I've contested a lot of tickets and usually knocked them down to just some kind of fine, and that helps. But it is a pay to play. If you're willing to speed, know that it might get you in the end. Learn to enjoy the ride, of course. Make it fun, make it easy. Pay attention. Maybe start leaving early if you always are caught up in that need to drive fast. Perhaps drive less, again, work remote. Or what I like the best, and I'm going to start to work on, is working less. I don't have to work, I don't have to drive, and therefore none of this really gets to be a problem. This is me. If you liked this, I'm speaking Friday morning. Come check me out. That's how you get a hold of me. Thanks, everybody.
Job.
Thank you.